got to Spotify, I was willing to do it for two reasons. One, because it was a ton of money, and two, because I wanted to be like 10% less famous.
Yeah.
I was like, wouldn't that be nice?
Boy, did that
Because people are like, oh, you're going to go into obscurity. I'm like, great.
Yeah.
Like, you'll be like Howard Stern. No one's going to... I'm like, perfect. Perfect. Give me the money.
Yeah.
I got other interests, man.
Yeah,
give me the loot.
Were you at all nervous for Trump?
I was definitely hyped up. I was excited. Because I wanted to... There's a lot of questions I need to answer.
Did you feel pressure?
No.
No
No,
pressure.
not pressure.
Pressure
No.
mean like make sure you covered everything you want to cover.
No. Just like I knew what was important.
Did you
not
prepare for
necessarily.
it?
Yeah.
Did you ask him why he was so pro-vaccine?
No, I didn't. But I also wanted to be rigid because there was a moment when he brought up the polio vaccine. I was like, oh, I don't want to correct him. I don't want to show like when have you ever seen the chart of when polio actually dropped off when the vaccine was introduced?
I referenced it
at the
all the
very
time.
end.
It's all bullshit.
Yeah.
That's a rough one. That's when you look at the actual, like, there's a bunch of them. Measles is another one, and you look at what actually happened.
Vaccine talk as a president.
Exactly, and I don't want to get involved in a podcast where there's a lot of shit I want to get to. I want to know what the fuck is in the JFK files.
Did you?
You know,
That's what
we talked about
What did he say?
that.
I didn't see that part because I've seen
He
half.
said there's a
so
lot
far
of
I'm
people that
halfway
are
through.
still alive, and I said, okay, so that's why you wouldn't release it because some of the people that are going to be implicated are still alive. So what that's saying to me is that the government was involved.
100%.
Everybody knows
But
that.
I said that, and he kind of like he danced a little.
The politician
he's
came out.
real, No, he's real good at you ask him a question, and he starts to answer it, but then he takes you on a totally
weave.
different route.
The weave.
You got to bring him back in, but you got to be respectful. So it's like I knew that that's the way he does it, but I'm like, I understand what you're doing, sir. But let's get it back to what I was asking you.
Yeah, you did that. You did that a couple
I
times.
was like, I want to know what that first fucking day is like, and I don't think I really got that answer out of him.
I don't think he remembers.
I think he does. What I'm talking about is like this feeling of now you have to appoint 10,000 people, and now you have to figure out how this machine works when you've never governed at all, and they don't show you any of that when you're running for president. It's not like a training program. Like, hey, Brendan, you might be president, so we're going to show you. This is how deals get made.
I like what he said about John Bolton. He said, yeah, he's a whack job, but you know what was cool about him? When I went to fucking Iran and I had John Bolton, they all knew he was he was ready to drop bombs. He's called him a whack job, but he had his purpose.
That kind of mindset. You know, the problem with the Trump stuff is just that the people look at the inflammatory things he says, the crazy shit, and they define him by that. But you also have to remember this is a very bizarre combination of an entertainer and a businessman. So it's an entertainer that, like, he's like a comedian, man. He says funny shit. He does it all the time.
Very funny.
He's always,
Constantly
when he makes fun
roasting.
of Biden.
Constantly roasting.
He's funny,
He's
man.
New York. He's very New York.
I miss
He's
the
quick.
fact that the nicknames he gives to people that they have to be
Tampon
funny.
Tim.
Yeah, if they weren't, if it wasn't
New scum.
funny, he wouldn't use it. Like Tampon Tim.
Yeah,
But my
part of
point
it
came up
is,
with that?
my
see
point
where
is,
you're from.
people don't know what to do with that,
Yeah.
and they want to pretend that all these other people are somehow or another like morally better because you don't get to see the real them. Like, I don't buy that. I don't think you should either. I don't think that's how people really are. I think, and when you see over and over and over and over again the media manipulating things and lying about things to make him seem way worse than he
Call
is,
him Hitler?
you should be suspicious.
Yes.
You should be
There's
real
a reason
suspicious.
why they're doing that.
Exactly.
Joe,
Because they don't want to lose that job. They're in desperado mode now.
Did you have a different perspective after? Like you don't know him well, right?
I don't know him at all.
But
I
after sitting
literally
down for 3
never
hours-
had a conversation with him other than "nice to meet you, sir." And he complimented me. I said, "Thank you. You're really good at this UFC stuff."
Yeah,
like
no
that kind of
shit.
thing. Like, thank you, thank you, sir.
But after 3 hours, did you have a different impression of him or no?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's a businessman. Bottom line, he likes making deals. That's what it is. Like, that's his whole thing. And he's got this ability to just keep going. This is what's crazy. Like, the podcast is 3 hours long. The guy didn't pee before the podcast. He didn't pee after the podcast.
Maybe he had a
just
little
left.
catheter.
Maybe
And he
was
drinks
wearing a
more
diaper.
Diet Cokes than me.
But he didn't drink anything during the podcast.
Gangster.
He just sat here and we talked, and they were freaking out there because he was 2 hours late for something he was doing in Michigan. He didn't give a fuck. He's like, I know this is going to be bigger than that. Let's just keep going. We did 3 hours.
Damn.
But at the end of it, he's, you know, I don't know him other than the 3 hours that I talked to him when he was trying to be at his best.
And
right?
Kamala Harris has not said yes yet.
She's not said no either. People keep saying she said no. I said I would have a conversation with her like a human being. That's all I want to do. That's literally all I want to do.
But that's trouble.
I want to
for
know
her.
what is it like to be. I don't even give a fuck about all the stuff she's talked about policies and all these different things. We know her positions.
Yeah.
Like, who are you?
Just be real.
Who are you?
The crazy thing with Kamala
that's
is
the most. She would be well served to step into the lion's den.
No, she's
and
not,
take
though,
it
'cause she
on
can't do it.
and
I
be
would
honest.
be willing to talk about anything other than politics. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. Right.
I don't give a
You wanna
fuck.
know who she is.
Like, if there were some certain things they didn't want to talk about, like, fine, I don't care. Let's talk. I want to know who you are.
Yes.
I can find out who you
So do-
are
so
if we
do
can
the
talk
rest of
about
us.
sports.
So do
It's
the rest of
crazy
us.
how she does interview after interview and they're just like disasters, and you would think that she would
they're
study
interviews.
and
This
just
is
like
the thing. They're
you know what I mean?
interviews. It's a fucked up way to talk that no one's used to doing.
Yeah.
Here's the way it is. Here's a question. Give me an answer. And you're like, well, I think that it's not a fucking conversation. It's not a conversation. So it's a weird. So you're uncomfortable with your words and you're trying to get it out right. And you realize millions of people fucking hate you and don't think you should be in that position in the first place.
When she begins to answer a question with, "I'm glad you asked that. Thank you for that." I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah, you know it's coming.
It's good. You know it's coming.
Well, she steers it back
when
to
she
the same
thanks
talking
you for
points.
asking a
What a
question
brilliant
about
question.
the 20 million illegals coming through the border unvetted. I'm glad you asked that.